Okay, man, I am pumped. I had recently, over the past month or so, I've had a bunch of y'all send in some stuff for me to look at or ask questions about, and kind of got into it with some of you in person. But I wanted to go over some of this on an episode, on a debrief episode. Thought it was some pretty cool stuff. It's like overwhelmingly jujitsu stuff, so there's that. But let's check it out.
Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever.
Hey, man, I've gotten several notes. You can send us an email anytime you want us to look at anything on the podcast. We've switched over to Buzzsprout a couple months ago. There is a way to send in a text or whatever through that Buzzsprout. You can do that as well. So if you can find me on Instagram, you can find me in YouTube comments, Twitter, not so much, or X. But if you want to take a look at something ever or just discuss something, send it on in. Would be more than happy to take a look. So let's take a look at the first one here. Little jujitsu action.
Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Leave me alone. What are these guys? Don't break it up.
For the record, for my own information, I just arrived here from the United States this morning. My name is Chris Bauer. As I exited my hotel, this gentleman started to follow me around. He was getting very close to me, threatening me.
Yes, because I knew that
He was telling me he was going to take my money for his son because he needed money for his son. And I told him I was not going to give him any money. I asked numerous people throughout the city to call the police and help me. Many people failed. I also have that on video.
You get the point. So this guy apparently is a jiu-jitsu black belt or whatever, and he's traveling to another country, and someone is following him, whatever, and he winds up subduing the guy using his skills, and waits for the cops to come. You can hear the guy like yelling at him, telling him to get up, and all kinds of stuff in the process. This is I picked a lot of these because I had got a lot of jujitsu type stuff or martial arts type stuff, and kind of put them all together. I think makes the most sense. There's a lot of stuff going on here, from paying attention to your environment to training regularly and having the skills to defend yourself. It's a great story. I don't know if this is true or not. It's on McDojo Life, which is kind of cool. But I assume McDojo Life has a breakdown of this and stuff, so I won't go into a lot of detail. Other than my reaction would be, yeah, right on, man. Make sure you're getting the training. Make sure you pay attention to your environment, those around you, and how they're acting and stuff like that. Got another one along those same lines I want to share with you about situational awareness that someone sent me that I talked about in detail with this person. We'll take a look at it. Don't need to listen to the music. So you can see this guy walking up to the person that he winds up taking out, a lady, unfortunately. And, the guy's clearly, not good. The guy's clearly a threat to the environment, right? And this person is like, it's hard to see because of the security cam, but I think she has headphones on and it's buried in her phone. I'm not picking on women. That's not the point. The point is, it's from ShivWorks, which is a great channel if you're interested in self-defense and things like that. But specifically they mentioned task saturation, task fixation. So this person is in a public place, in a subway. I don't know what country, it doesn't matter. But when you're in a public place that could potentially have something like this going on, don't get buried in the thing. It can wait. There's nothing that should overtake your ability to pay attention to the environment. You see people I live in a college town, and you see people literally walking across the street looking at their phone with like big Beats headphones on, totally immersed in their internet environment versus traffic, much less someone like this who gave off clear signals. I mean, he was messing with people like a good 20 30 meters away. You could clearly have seen that if you were paying attention. I'm not saying that the person is at fault for being attacked. That is not the point. The point is to pay attention to your environment, which goes along with the other one we just looked at, with the person being able to pay attention to his environment and react, having made those decisions. And that's just good stuff. And it's a reminder to us all, because I'm also guilty of it. I'm not a master of my environment. I have been engrossed in my phone to the point where I shouldn't have been before. We won't even talk about texting and driving. That's not even a thing we should talk about, because you should not be doing that. But to which I'm guilty as well. But this is a lesson. All right, this one I was sent, and then I went and found the podcast. I think it's a new episode that just came out of Demetrius Johnson's podcast. Which, if you haven't discovered Demetrius Johnson, I mean, UFC featherweight champion several times over. I believe, I'm probably wrong in this, but I believe pound for pound best fighter of all time in terms of UFC and MMA. I'm a pretty big fan of his, and he's recently been competing in Jiu-Jitsu on a pretty high level, and he's recently gotten his black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, which is insane to me that he wasn't already. But that's a different podcast. But this one was sent to me about this Jiu-Jitsu community thing.
He's after you.
Because I'm trying to change it. They don't like change. They want everything to stay the same. They want no drug testing. All these things they're for. And by the way, he's 100% natural, because I can instantly feel when I train with people. So that even makes me a bigger fan of you. Like,
oh, yeah.
No, but so many of those top athletes, they've taken so much. So Gordon Ryan's 1 year older than me.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 40.
Yeah.
Are we the same? Are we 1 year apart? Like, how is that possible? Everything's double.
The point there is the the steroid use in jiu-jitsu, which on the high competition levels, ADCC and all that stuff. I'm not a super expert in all of that world, but you can tell, and it is pretty interesting looking at. See if I can get back to Gordon Ryan here. This is Mikey Musumeci, who's a phenom in his division. He's a champ. Gordon Ryan, of course, is considered an all-time greatest in jiu-jitsu. He's a champ as well. And it is kind of mind-blowing that they're like a year apart. Mikey Musumeci is pretty ripped on his own. You can study him. He's got some pretty well-known dietary habits. He only eats once a day and stuff like that. Pizza and pasta that he makes himself. Whatever. And then Gordon Ryan is I'm going to say pretty well known as being on some sort of, PEDs and stuff. So it is kind of crazy that they're only a year apart. All right. So I went and found the podcast.
Let me just make an example. Okay?
Yeah.
So Gordon Ryan's 1 year older than me.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 40.
Yeah.
Are we the same?
And I think this is what that audio was taken from.
Are we 1 year apart? Like, how is that possible?
Well, you also gotta look at genetics too. People,
But all the guys that are on steroids, their bodies age like 20 years.
Yeah, well, of course, because
that's what I'm saying. My body's like 20. His body's like 40.
Yes, because he put his body through that stress.
Yep.
Obviously, the gut
but
issues.
Short term, like long term, I could compete like another 20 years if I want to.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you could compete another so many years.
Absolutely.
But that's what I'm saying. Long term, we get to enjoy the sport so much longer because we don't abuse our body like that.
Exactly.
And we beat all those guys that take anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's funny. I've gotten to really like him recently. Mikey's a pretty tenacious competitor. But talking about the steroid use and stuff, and the fact that Gordon Ryan looks so much older and stuff. And yes, there are some genetics that make Mikey Musumeci look a lot younger. He looks a lot younger. He carries himself a lot younger. He moves like just his features and stuff like that. And Gordon Ryan has he's got the gray white hair and the beard and all that stuff. It really adds to it. But you can look at him. You can look at his features. He looks like a 50-year-old person. Being a 50-year-old person myself, and yeah, it does put a lot of extra stress on your body that these two are not. And I don't have it, but I do know that Demetrius Johnson was recently on another podcast talking about his brain health, and there's a whole thing there about getting struck in the head and stuff like that. But whatever, we can get into that later. Look that up. But yeah, so the steroid use is not a good thing, but rampant in the higher levels of competitive jiu-jitsu. Clearly, it's hard not to argue with that. Some more from this podcast, same one. It was a really great podcast. I encourage you to go listen to the whole thing if you're into jiu-jitsu.
God, why do you think this? What makes this community so toxic?
The jiu-jitsu community itself,
Yeah,
it supports all the wrong things like taking drugs. They say mental health, you're a pussy if you talk about mental health, but they're all on steroids because they're mentally scared. Like they need to take steroids, like just stuff like that.
Ouch.
gotcha.
And that community is all that based, like it's nothing authentic in the community.
Wow, that's a lot. I don't have a ton of experience in competition in jiu-jitsu. My experience in jiu-jitsu is very very relaxed. I had a series of great coaches over the years. I will say that in places I've trained, there is definitely a tough guy mentality, I think. I'm sure it's not the same everywhere. I have experienced that, and particularly in the younger practitioners, which jiu-jitsu's probably in the the initial early part of being popularized in terms of a martial art. There's other martial arts like karate that's been around a long time, had their major heyday in the 70s and 80s, I would say, and we're sort of on the back end of that stuff and other martial arts, much like that. Jiu-jitsu is very early on, but I will say that a lot of the younger practitioners that I had trained with were very aggressive and had trouble really controlling themselves at times. But I think not just there's a level of maturity there between a 40-year-old and a 20-year-old. This is just 20 years difference. But in my personal opinion, I think they're largely missing a lot of the foundational aspects of martial arts that you get in some of the older, more established ones, like say karate. Jiu-jitsu puts an emphasis on performance and outcome versus your like it's not as much about that as it is performance and outcome. I think I really think so. You'll hear that a lot. You'll see that a lot on like Instagram, which is like, it's not about the belts, it's about the journey and stuff like that. But that stuff's important, and I think that just the nature of like say no-gi jiu-jitsu still awarding belts, like something like a 10th Planet or whatever, they're still awarding those belts. You still get to the black belt. You still get the belt progression, even though they don't wear belts. It's a little weird, in my opinion. It's a little weird, and the disregarding of the gi, just kind of a wanting to sort of surpass some of the more traditional things, and I think you're missing out on a lot of stuff. Might be kind of a result of what he's talking about. I know Mikey Musumeci competes in the gi, so does Demetrius Johnson, and they are traditional martial artists.
Gotcha.
So I feel like I'm the bad guy. Like I become a bad guy just being nice and cool to people.
Yeah.
It pisses them off.
Yeah.
So it's just very toxic. I just been in it too many years. A lot of fake people, a lot of messed up people.
I think it could be also a form of jealousy of
Yeah.
If I can look at it as like maybe you got all these opportunities to make all this money. Granted,
so I think that's kind of getting beyond the point where they start talking specifically about themselves and the money they can make in their performances and stuff like that. But I think that you'll see that with a more traditional martial art mindset, that it's less about the competition itself. It's less about being an athlete and more about being a martial artist. And there's a huge difference there. I know these two guys get it. If you don't, let me know. So I had someone send me this one and ask my opinion on it, and then I took a deep dive into comments and other things. So let's start where I started. All right, not so bad so far. I mean, it's, clearly he's trying to get her to push past wherever she are. Clearly, this is deep into a multiple hour training session. She's got skills. So I don't know what you guys think about that so far. Watch the whole thing through here. Make sure you get any surprises at the end. Yeah, I don't know. Some of those punches seem unnecessary. So yeah, it made me take a deep dive through this. Someone sent me this, like, what is this? It's a dude hitting this female. You've got some comments here. You've got Chris Weidman. I don't know if you know Chris Weidman. He's former middleweight UFC champion, brother-in-law to Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy. WTF is that? Ego issues gone wild. That should never be allowed. You got a lot of replies, probably because he's Chris Weidman. Daddy chill. We both know that was controlled, and that's still my boy. Beautiful sparring, still totally respectful. He's not fooling punching. He's just exposing her defense. So now she knows. Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff back and forth here. About some inside, who we know and who we don't know and stuff about these people. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm sort of on the fence on it. I'm sort of on the fence, honestly. I think that, depending on the skill level of this woman here, I think that, some of this is pushing her. If she's a pro fighter, she's going to be getting hit a lot worse. I know there's a lot of talk about like hard sparring and not hard sparring and stuff like that. You can go look all that stuff up. I'm specifically talking about these two. Now, this guy. So this is the coach. He's clearly a former. I mean, not a former. He's a former fighter, or whatever himself, I believe, and he's a pro. I mean, there she is again with him. Here he is. There's a lot of footage of him working with people, and he's clearly a experienced coach and fighter, and working with the people of the same level. And I just think that there's probably something there. So there was another one. Let's see. Yeah, where she responded. So let's take a look at some of this.
Hi everyone, I'm recording this video because I'm seeing a lot of things on the social media. So I would like to clear some things up. So my name is Emma. I'm a professional boxer in Cambodia.
So she is a pro boxer living in Cambodia.
My trainer in France posted, I think like a week ago, a video of us sparring. And everybody went wild in the comment section.
Yeah, I was in it too.
Saying that my trainer was abusive, that he was not a good coach. He was just enjoying beating a woman up or something like this. So I would like to say that you should stop all saying BS things. because that's simply not true. And I think that a lot of people are interpreting what they're seeing on internet, and they are not trying to understand what's really happening in this video. So they only see like the violent part. But it's, I mean, I'm a boxer. I'm not just like playing card or knitting, you know. It's fighting. So I need to train myself, and to train myself I need to fight. And if I do a sparring with somebody that doesn't hit me kind of hard, how am I gonna learn how to fight, how to handle the pain?
Yeah, so there we go. Well, I don't know, what's your opinion? Let me know. Hit me back. What do you think? Do you think he was hitting her too hard, too aggressively, or not as aggressively or as hard as she will get hit in the ring when she's actually fighting? Like, where was, so if in the ring of fighting is here, and here's like, white belt beginner getting struck, like where was he, in the scale of hitting her hard? What do you think? I'm kind of in the middle. I think some of those were pretty hard, fairly hard shots, whatever. There is the aspect of he's a man and he's hitting her, and it's, he can hit a lot harder and stuff like that. There's a lot of physiological difference and things, but again, it's like she said, it's from her mouth. So we got the Chris Weidman thing. He certainly knows about training and stuff. So I don't know. Is it just like two different camps in where you fall? They are in Thailand. And if you're really training in something like that, that's very different than a lot of places here in the US. So I don't know. What's your opinion? I'm kind of 50-50 myself, but what's yours? Okay, so yeah, this was a very recent, I believe, podcast a couple weeks ago. I don't know when this will come out, but a couple weeks ago, from whenever I was listening to this while doing some other chores and stuff. I thought there was some good stuff here, and then somebody hit me back with it about doing hard things, and I've sort of coached that too. That we need to do hard things to help overcome. We need some adversity in our lives to really be able to overcome when things are really hard. And this was just a cool episode of Joe Rogan with Andrew Huberman. And I know that however you feel about the two, whatever, it's still a cool conversation.
Translates to an ability to do hard things, and probably translates, provided it doesn't kill you, to a longer life.
And you've explained that there's actually a part of your brain that grows.
So there's a brain area that most neuroscientists aren't aware of, called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
Yeah, he's got some really nerdy stuff here, and he goes, if you ever listened to him before, super deep on some of this stuff.
Okay, scientists who are in the know about it. It's I teach neuroanatomy, medical students at Stanford. It's an area that we cover in passing, but there are a lot of brain areas. You got to get, can't get to everything. But in the last couple of years, there have been studies of this area, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, that make it super important for everybody to know about, not just neuroscientists. And here's the deal. A colleague of mine at Stanford, Joe Parvizi, he's a neurosurgeon. He's in there stimulating different brain areas, including anterior mid-cingulate cortex and areas near it, in human patients while they're awake, preparing them for neurosurgery for other reasons. Stimulates anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And what do all people who have their anterior mid-cingulate cortex report? They feel like there's something about to happen. Something's kind of looming, a challenge, a storm. Some will report it as a storm or a physical challenge, but their overall sensation is one that they want to lean into it. They want to challenge it. Now, this area has subsequently been imaged in people who are successful dieters. It grows larger. In people that fail at a dieting or nutrition program, it gets smaller. People that embrace a new form of exercise, and here's the key point, that they don't want to do, this area gets bigger. People that are just doing things that they enjoy doing does not change in shape or size.
How about
now?
That?
Here's where it gets even more interesting. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is larger in volume in a group of people called super agers. Okay, that's a bit of a misnomer because it implies they age faster. They actually age more slowly as it relates to cognitive decline. The slope of cognitive decline is not as steep in these people, meaning they're holding on to cognitive abilities longer than other people into older age. And the universal quality among these superagers is not just a larger anterior mid-cingulate cortex, but that they challenge themselves to do things that are challenging and they kind of don't want to do or really don't want to do. So
how about that? So doing hard things, doing the things you don't want to do. Jocko himself talks about this a lot. Cold plunges, whatever you can. I think it's pseudoscience, but you can take Huberman. I take him on his word on this one too. He's talking about something he did, a study someone else did, or whatever, but that there's literally physiological changes and studies and things showing that you age, like mentally age slower by doing hard things in your life, and how important that is. And I would say absolutely it is. The other part of this I thought was interesting, and I think I got it right here.
Couldn't get in touch with it.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I'm like, oh, like time's going to come up. Every time I go down for a meditation, I do this like non-sleep deep rest, yoga nidra meditation. I like go do the long exhale. I'm like, someday it's going to just be last exhale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking forward to dying. Lord knows I'm not looking forward to dying. But I realize, I'm like, this is great. It's very freeing, because I had this realization the other day in a meditation. No psychedelics involved in this one.
Some real bro-y type stuff going on with the, while I was meditating stuff, but whatever, let's get over that.
And I realized, like, I can continue to just be curious and explore. And like, I think it's that ego detachment, a little slice of that. Like, this is bad. This is good. I'm learning from this. This was good. This was hard. I learned a lot from that. I learned what I needed to change from that, and just be moving forward. It's this removing this thing of like you said, like this game all day long of like, not that I was in that mode, or I didn't think I was, but this need to win, right? It's sort of like being an explorer. I'm a brain explorer. I've been a brain explorer for a long time. I love biology, love animals. Like, I'm an explorer. And I think the definition of curiosity to me is that you're not attached to the outcome.
Right.
You just want to know what's real.
Right. But too many people are attached to the outcome. And I think that's a tremendous trap. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it's something that I had to learn, because I was always attached to winning an argument. If I got in a discussion, a disagreement with someone, I was always attached to being the one who was correct.
When did that fall away for you? At what a year?
So there's a couple of things there. And this hit me kind of hard, because I noticed this in some of my classes, that there are times when people are more interested in, let's say, the way that they think other people perceive their ability than their actual ability. And by that, what I mean is, like, let's say we're in a martial arts class and we're learning a new self-defense technique or series or whatever, and they don't get it right the very first time, and then it's like immediate, like there needs to be like immediate discussion or explanation of why they couldn't do the thing that they literally just saw 30 seconds ago. Like I don't expect you to be able to do it. You just saw it for the first time. Why would you think you could just see it and then immediately perfectly execute this thing? You need to practice. And I think it is this underlying need to win. And I don't, in that instance, I don't know that it's like exactly, it's just not outwardly negative. It's more of a subconscious thing. And I think that kind of what Andrew Huberman here is talking about, letting go of that and embracing more of explorer mentality, that no one in this room is expecting me to be good at any of this. So therefore, I'm just here to learn, to observe and learn and explore and try. And I think if you take that approach, even in, if you're in your jiu-jitsu, in whatever it is, I think you're going to wind up over the shorter term, longer term, whatever, you're going to wind up being more successful in the overall like performance. You know what I mean? I just do. And like I have, there are people I've trained with them too, where it's just, they would rather talk about the thing than just repeatedly drill the thing and do the thing over. And I'm, there's more of this to a non-martial arts application, but I just see it so obviously in the martial arts, and in the gym too, like in the CrossFit gym, whatever. It's there where you just need to let go of that need to be right or that need to look correct. Just let go. It doesn't matter. The other people aren't judging you either. They just saw it as well. You know, you don't need to be the one that teaches everyone else. You don't need to be the expert. Especially when you're in a room where you're paying someone else to show you things. You don't need to know as much as they do. You're not expected to. So I thought that was pretty important. And to then, they go on for another like 30 minutes, but to then take that from that training out into the rest of the world, and I think you see a lot of this in just, let's just say political discussions with each other, where we need to, like, we're talking about something and there's a need to have the other person see things the way I do. Like, you just got to let go of that. And that's a very ego-less way of living. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. Here's one that somebody sent me I thought was awesome. It's this one in particular is specifically about women's anatomy and whatever, and people judging you. But let's just look at it and then we'll get into it.
I recently had the pleasure of fielding a weird comment from a strange man on the internet who commented on the appearance of my hips, saying that,
first of all, I love Finley. She is freaking awesome.
That they looked weak and that I should implement more abductor-focused exercises to strengthen them. I would have loved to share the comment as a reel, but when I replied to him, he deleted the comment because he's a fucking pussy.
Oh.
So let's dive in. I assume he's looking at my hip dips, which is a stupid fucking term coined by social media that makes women feel shittier about themselves and like they have yet another flaw to fix, but I digress. So if you take a look at this super random video, my hip dips are pretty visible. There is a clear indentation between the tops of my femurs and my hips. This is due to my anatomy. I have always had them and I always will have them, and they are entirely normal. Many women have them, and no amount of training or abductor exercises will get rid of them because it is a fixed joint position. It is.
Yeah, she goes on and on about the actual physical aspect of it, but it's kind of funny. This one in particular was about, some random internet person making a comment on her, the way she looks or whatever, and not even in the video, like, that I'm sure that the person was responding to was her instructing some kind of exercise movement or some fighting movement or something. I've seen her strike the bag. She's solid. She knows what she's doing. And yeah, it's just kind of funny. It's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy, was why I don't really ever put any technique stuff out, because I just don't want to see the comments. The last time I did, I think it was like 6 years ago or something like that, I put a video out of some people training, and they were in the gi and they were training a back fist, like like a back fist. And in sport karate, you can say whatever you want, but in sport karate, back fist is like one of the number one techniques. It's just a quick back fist strike, and it's like an allowed technique or whatever. And I was showing them that in the video. They were just kind of stepping forward and throwing a back fist. And the first comment was, someone was like, "That jab is not sound. Whoever's teaching them that jab needs to be fired." And it's just like, bro, it's not. Yeah. So when I look at, like, techniques and things like that, the people that make the comments, it's just like, why even have comments? Like, none of them are constructive. And I think that's her point, is just like, she puts out a technique video or something, and somebody makes comments about her butt, basically, and how she should do more exercises. I mean, look at this woman. She's super fit. I think she's like a mom of 2 as well. She would probably whoop your ass, like Mr. Commenter, like, so hell yeah, Finley, I support you, and you are freaking amazing. So we'll come back to Demetrius Johnson. Like I said, he's recently been competing in jiu-jitsu. Well, not recently. I mean, I don't know, a year or so. He's retired from mixed martial arts, UFC, and he's doing these jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And now he's doing it as a black belt or whatever. And he has like a podcast channel or whatever. He does these like day in the event style episodes and stuff, and they're really cool. But this one in particular,
you're good. Hey, you're good. Hey, it's no good. There's next year, man. Hey, this is for fun. Your life's not gonna change. You're gonna go home Keep on training. Have beautiful wife, kids. Go back to work. This is for fun. There's more to life than win, I promise. Hey.
That was amazing. So, for a little context, he just beat that guy in the tournament. I think they were in the, I don't know, it's like finals or whatever, the little final brackets and stuff. And he just beat this guy, and the guy was upset. And I believe the guy was crying a little bit, whatever he had lost. And just for him, Demetrius Johnson is like multiple time world champion, like pound for pound best fighter, like one of all time. Like, in my opinion, if you got the Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts, he'd be on there. Going up to this guy and telling him those things that, this is like IBJJF, I think, I don't even think you get money if you win. Maybe $1,000 or something like that. So yeah, to put it in perspective for that person and to spend time with him and talk to him and not be a total douche and just beat him and parade around and run off. Like he like, what a great way to approach your martial art. And like I said earlier, that to me, he's a true martial artist, and that's what it's about. And probably goes into a little bit of what Mikey was talking about with the toxic, sort of the more toxic environment in the competitive jiu-jitsu world, to where we would see something like that, and it's like refreshing, but like in, a more traditional approach to martial art or whatever, it might not be that might not be that odd. We might experience that a lot more. So yeah. Okay, there's been a couple of podcasts that Craig Jones has been on, another jiu-jitsu personality. I told you a lot of this was jiu-jitsu related, but someone sent this to me and was like asking me, is this a real thing in jiu-jitsu? And there's been a couple of other things going around about like open mat and why certain gym owners don't, or black belts, whatever, don't have open mats and stuff like that. And you can look all that stuff up too. But this one was interesting. This is not the only one from this, and I've got a podcast of Craig Jones on the Lex Friedman podcast talking about some of this too. But particularly, this stuff probably exists everywhere. But again, jiu-jitsu is the hot thing right now, so that's where we get it from. Talking about people in like these open mats or these seminars or whatever, where, man, I should have drugged the other one up. I do remember seeing one of Bukao, who's a Muay Thai champion, where someone tried to, like, they were in a seminar and they did some sparring at the end, and the person was like, oh, I'm fighting a legend here, so I'm going to try to, like, it was either Senchai or Bukao or whatever, but I'm going to try to like fight this guy and test myself. And he got a couple of hard hits on him, and it was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then he just proceeded to beat the crap out of this dude, which was kind of epic. And I think this is a similar type of thing. So I don't want to just pick on jiu-jitsu, but here we go.
They don't want to roll anymore. Craig already knows what's up. He says, this is not a competition, relax. You got the first guy to stand up, and you got video cameras rolling. So you already know what this is. Like, if you go to a seminar, like, you don't.
Okay, I don't want to react to a guy's reaction. I didn't realize or remember that's what it was. But the point here is that, Craig Jones is if you know anything about it, he's kind of cool in that he's like perennially number 2 behind like Gordon Ryan or whatever, and train with those guys in the Danaher Death Squad and all this stuff. But anyway, he'll go and do these touring seminars and stuff like that. But at the seminars, the people that he's rolling, so they'll do an hour or so of instruction, and they'll like roll for a while, and it's like they should be like friendly sparring. It should be like flow work or whatever. But like, yeah, you see the end there. The guys, this is cool. The old F around and find out graph. That guy was promptly right there. But yeah, it's funny. So yeah, so in the rounds where the people are with these more famous competitors and fighters and athletes and stuff, they're trying to like test themselves, and then in the case of Craig Jones, he just like just like destroyed the guy's ankle, which, you know, he deserved. If you're trying to do that to someone like that, you just deserve it. So let's take a look at this other podcast here with Lex Friedman.
It asked, how many legs did you break in Eastern Europe?
3 or 4.
To send a message or just for your own personal enjoyment?
I don't enjoy it, you know?
I think he's serious by saying 3 or 4. I don't think he's being sarcastic.
They
You don't enjoy the violence.
It is humorous after the fact, though. Because, I mean, it's just like, hey, like, bro, I'm jet lagged. I'm tired. I'm here for you guys. Why are you trying to hurt me?
Yeah.
You know, like if I get a submission tap, don't hesitate at all. Don't hesitate. You know, like I mean, jiu-jitsu is dangerous. It's a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And when strangers going crazy.
It's martial arts, man. It doesn't have to just be jiu-jitsu. Throwing hands, throwing legs, kicks, submissions, leg locks. Like, what are you doing?
It's their show. They think they're getting invites to CJI if they tap me.
CGI is the Craig Jones Invitational.
It's just wild.
So speaking of which, just for the hobbyist, for a person just starting out, what wisdom can you provide? Like, say you were tasked with coaching a.
We won't go into all that, but you get the point where, you know, you're in class, man. Just relax. Especially those guys. Like, if you're a beginner, you're a beginner. Like you got stuff to learn. The upper ranks, the upper belts, the more experience will take care of you. But if you have experience and you go to one of these seminars and try to do that, in my opinion, you deserve everything you get. You deserve to get knocked out. You deserve to get your ankle screwed up. Like in that case, I think that video is actually from wherever. It's funny. We'll have people come into to my gym and they'll be a beginner, and I'll say like, "Hey, so we're gonna." You know, and they do a few classes and they come to the sparring class, and I'll say, hey, you know, we're going to have you do a couple of rounds with a black belt or maybe a couple black belts. And they look at me like, holy Lord, I'm going to get destroyed. And I'll tell them real quick. I'll say, no, see, here's where you're wrong. The most dangerous person is the beginner. Those black belts are going to take care of you. Yeah, you're intimidated because of their experience, but they know what they're doing and they're going to take care of you. The white belt, the beginner, can do the most damage because they're, like you said, they're a little wild. They don't quite know. Then they don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the protocols. They don't know where things go. You know, like in jiu-jitsu, you always when you're working with a very new person, you wind up getting elbowed and kneed in the face and stuff because they don't know where those things go. Because you're used to putting your parts in places where you know, don't get hurt, and they're just a little wild, and that's what happens. So I thought that was pretty interesting to look at in terms of you know, other people experience and stuff like that. So yeah, so there we go. Several things sent in. So that was cool. I like looking at stuff that you guys send in. So please hit me with some stuff, and you can go to the warriormindset.us website. There's a place there in the bottom where you can send me stuff. You can send it through the podcast. You can send it through YouTube. You can send it through Instagram. Get me some stuff. I like looking at things and would love to talk to you and find out what you're thinking. So appreciate it. Until next time, get after it, y'all.